memories. Some people would say that that's all life's really about. In the absolute end, whether stairway to heaven or the highway to hell, that's all any of us really have. Some good, some bad, and we all aiming for the former, regardless of how frequently we create the latter. In a funny way, one defines the other and vice versa if you think about it. But the further we get from them, our hindsight sometimes is like the drunkest guy at the bar looking for a one-night stand. He's going to see what he wants to see, and tomorrow he won't really remember how it all played out, but it's not going to stop his mind from trying to fill in the blanks anyway. And that's memory for you. You can't remember the name of the guy you've been catching the bus with for a year, talking sports and politics, but you remember the details of a rainy birthday party from when you were 7 years old with crystal clarity. Except 35 years later, maybe it really rained 2 hours before the party. Maybe the cake was chocolate, but it was marble, so it was vanilla too. You just loved chocolate at 7 years old, and that's the flavor you focused on. Maybe the wrapping paper on that Nintendo game your folks got you was actually blue and not yellow, but you happened to switch the color with the wrapping paper from another game you got 6 months later at Christmas. From little details to major attributes, time is the ultimate assassin of accuracy. But sometimes those distortions and outright omissions are our mind's way of protecting us. Psychological self-defense from things that want to be remembered perfectly, regardless of how much we like to forget them. So for the client I was with now, it was being molested in a grocery store as a kid. For others, it's everything from witnessing their mother's suicide to being chased by a pit bull when they were 10, and everything, everything in between. So as Professor Grazio wakes from the C.E.R. machine, he profusely hugs its inventor, my best friend since 3rd grade, Percy. I awake in another room in another C.E.R. machine, and as the good professor graciously exits the office, miraculously, psychologically free of decades of traumatic burden, I don't even check my account for the $4,500 I know was being deposited. My fee per case, or per memory as it were. Percy rightfully gets the lion's share. He's come a long way from building this thing in his grandmother's Emerson Avenue basement and charging $50 cash or $100 in food stamps to the folks brave enough to trust Little P, the neighborhood genius, and his fancy hypnotize machine. They're supposed to help you stop everything from smoking Newport Hunters to cheating on your girlfriend. And as time passed, he refined it. He moved from a basement to his own facility and charged a hell of a lot more than $50 and some food stamps. And along the way, he even gave a job to his longtime best friend, who wasn't a genius, but was in need of some type of consistent work after coming home from 6 years in a federal prison for conspiracy. And that's how it went for a few years, until the day a particular client came in. Normally, Percy has a whole battery of tests to make sure the prospective client can handle the invasion of their psyche, as well as pay the $17,000 deposit and the remaining $23,000 when we're finished. And business was and had been good. And maybe it was hubris, vanity, or plain old greed that made us both ignore the red flag of the latest client that proposed to pay us 5 times our asking price for one in-depth session. $200K, and my cut would be a little over $20,000. Not bad for 2 hours worth of work. So for that amount, what was the trauma or issue we, and by that I mean me, will be taking our customer into to therapeutically vanquish their most personal of demons? We had no idea, not just what we'd be stepping into, but what, quite possibly for the first time ever, might be stepping out into us. And maybe even further than that. And $200K 100 times was nowhere near worth what would come from taking the case of Alicia Renee Conroy.